Let's get into my February wrap up because it's never too late for February.
You mean it's never too late for February? February is gone. We're in the middle of March. It's the middle of March.
Hey y'all, welcome back to Reading Spins and Shy Sips. I'm your girl Sasha Bonet. You can just call me Sasha, and it's time for our February wrap up. I know it's mid March, probably even later than that by the time this goes up, but that's all good. Life was lifing, and I had to wait for life to finish lifing so that I could take back control of my life. So here we are. I know some of y'all can relate. But yeah, let's get into the wrap up. I don't even remember how many books I read because it just right now slipped my mind. But I read some library books, I read some KU books, and I read some books off my physical TBR, which I'm happy to say happened because, whew, life. Let's get into it. First up, we have an indie girly, an indie author named Aisha Bree, and it is Strummed. And I have this copy, it's signed, I enjoyed it. There is a video up for this, or should be coming out, whichever one, with this book included. I enjoyed this. I gave it, I believe, I want to say 4 stars. It is a book with music in it, and we know I despise books with music. However, the music, even though it was a part of this, wasn't that big of a part that it overshadowed the romance of this book. So I enjoyed this one. Next up is another indie girly, Monica Walters' Love Me Senseless. This is part of the Barrett family series. This is book 5 in the series, and I am in on this series. Though I was not in on Isaiah and Joy's love story, I did respect it. I respect the choices that these two characters made to be in love. I don't like it. One of the main reasons is I don't like second chance romance, but that's fine and dandy. But I do love Monica Walters' writing. She is one of the girls to read. Please read her work. But I did enjoy this. I think I gave it 3.5 stars. Next up is Bone Crier's Dawn by Catherine Purdy. This is the second book in the duology series of the Bone Graces. And the first one in the series I gobbled up. I really like it. This is YA fantasy set in either Ireland or Scotland. I can't remember which, but really good. It has to do with gods and a group of women only who serve those gods and give blood sacrifices in the form of love. It's really, really good. YA. Next up is a book I didn't love so much, Bruja Born by Zoraida Cordova. And the first one was okay. This one, which is the second book in the series, there's one more to read, and I am going to read it because I'm interested in the third sister's story. But this one, I just despise the FMC in this book because, and she's a child, but she annoyed me to no ends. And that was disappointing to say the least. But I will be getting the third book from the library to finish out the series because I do want to know. Next up is Dark Harmony by Laura Thalassa. This finishes out the series of The Bargainer for me, and I'm happy for that. This book was nothing but smut. Every 2.3 business pages was nothing but smut. At some point, I think sometimes you just gotta put the book down because the ending of this was built up over 3 other books. And by the time we got here and there was smut every other page, it just was not good. I think I gave this 2 stars. It just wasn't good. Now we have Chloe Walsh Redeeming 6. This is the last book in Joey's story, and 5 stars. There's nothing more to say. If you follow or if you have read this series, you know, 5 stars. Chloe Walsh can do no wrong when it comes to the boys of Tommen. Because Joey is one of my favorite. Love him down. This book, it didn't make me cry, but it's like you already knew what was going to happen in his first and second book, so you're kind of prepared for it. But you get to see up and close how Joey struggles with his addictions and him and Aoife go through their things, and I just enjoyed it. I enjoyed it so much. Next up is another indie girly. You have Be Love. I read the Mr. Librarian, and then I read the Mr. series Prelude by Beloved. Both enjoyable, but this one comes before the Prelude because I believe she began writing this one and it was supposed to be a standalone. But us as her, fans of her writing, were like, okay, we need more misters. Where's the rest of these misters? And she said, okay. So she gave us this with a couple of short chapters in it for 2 chapters for each of the men that were to come, and she just kept adding from there. These 5 stars, 5 stars. Like what the men in these books, Mr. Librarian, who doesn't want a man who loves books? These men in this and here that she introduces in here are messy as hell. They have messy, messy love lives. I'm glad we started out with Mr. Librarian though, so that we could see that there are some men who don't have messy love lives, but a lot of the men in these stories do have messy love lives. But I still recommend that you read the Mr. series. It is really entertaining. It is really good. Plus, these were rereads for me. We have the next book in the Mead Mishaps. This is Kimberly Lemon's That Time I Got Drunk and Saved a Human. What is going on with the girlies in these long ass book titles? But this one was underwhelming for me. Kimberly Lemon is a girlie that I found about 2 years ago, and I gobbled her work down initially. Funny, cute, fantasy. It's not cozy because there are people losing lives left and right. But this one, if you followed from the first book, when you are introduced to this character, the FMC, first of all, you know who both of them are. Dante and Cherry, you know who they are. And this one was underwhelming because I knew who they were and I was expecting so much more from just the fact of who they were as characters. I did not get that in this book for it to be as long as it was. I do like Kimberly Lemon's writing, so I will continue in the series. Next, we have Kwan's Gutter, and this is the sequel to Gangsta, and I don't think I enjoyed it. Gangsta was one thing, but to get Gutter and then nothing, like everything happens in this book, but nothing changed from the first book. And so it became kind of like a repetitive story of just gang violence with no end game, unless the end game is death and murder. So it wasn't as enjoyable as the first one. So, but there you have it. Next up, we have Charlie Donnelly and Those Empty Eyes. This book was a lot. It had a lot of twists and turns. I actually did a video for this one as well. I don't know, like this is a book I would have to reread later on. Even though it is a thriller and you find out what happens in the end, it's something that maybe I missed a couple of steps, a couple of twists and turns, and that's why it didn't land completely with me. But by the ending, I knew exactly what they said had happened. And it kind of, a little bit gooped and gagged me, but I was still like, what? So I don't know. You tell me, have y'all read this? And what were your feelings about this? This is my first Charlie Donnelly book, so I don't know what to expect. Next up, we have On the Corner of Hope and Maine by Beverly Jenkins. This is the 10th book in the Blessing series. Loved it. Beverly Jenkins can do no wrong in my eyes. Loved it. I have one more book that's out by her, and then later on this year, she drops the 12th book in the Blessing series that I don't know if it ends the series or not. This one was really good. We're no closer in this book to me feeling like the series is ending. So I'm happy about that because I really do enjoy these small, cozy books where you're catching up with several characters that are in the town, not just one, several point of views. I love it. Next, we have another indie girly. We have the Tell Me series. Tell Me the Prelude and Tell Me You Love Me book 2. Both of these were really good. I bought these on the TikTok shop from Tina Martin's shop, and I read both of them. I'm missing one book in this series, so I do need to buy it because I enjoyed these. The only problem I had with these is that the FMC is a mental health counselor, and she did not recognize a certain set of characteristics that our MMC had, and it pissed me off. But we'll see what happens in the third book. But I really did enjoy these, and they did make me laugh out loud. Those were the physical books that I read off of my TBR. Let's get into a couple of other ones. So The Skin I'm In, I don't have it anymore. I already unhauled it, and I did not like this book. This book was supposed to be a book that came out in 1998 and was said to have swept the girlies, the middle grade, the YA girlies, and their teachers. And it was supposed to be so good. I despised it. I did not like it. It wasn't, there was no affirmation of dark skinned girls, boys, women, or anything else, or learning to love yourself until the last like 2 pages of the book. And that wasn't enough for me. Then we have 8 Seconds to Love by Monica Walters. This is a part of her hood country cowboy love stories. And I enjoyed this one well enough. It wasn't as good as the books that I've read from her in the Barrett series, but I will continue in this series as well. Then we have Pardon My Frenchie. I read this one for Kenya's book club, Lily Reed's book club. It was an okay romance for me. I gave it 3.5 stars. It was okay. It was cutesy. I did enjoy the fact that the MMC did not like dogs. Even though I have a pup, so I know what it is to love your dogs, love your animals. But we always see in the books that everyone is in love with their animals, and this man did not like dogs. And I enjoyed that aspect. I do recommend that you read it. I also listened to it on Libby. Then I got Thornhedge from the library, and that one, Thornhedge was a short kind of fairy tale retelling, and I didn't get it. I really didn't. Hopefully, if I ever read from this author again, hopefully it'll be better. I just didn't enjoy it. The Good House, I also got from the library. It was very creepy, and it's categorized as horror, and it was very creepy until the end. The end was not a good ending for me. It did not have any resolutions for me. To know that you can't go back and fix things just to be able to go back and things get fixed was a no for me. So this book, I think I gave it 3 stars, maybe. It was so creepy that I was expecting more by the end. We Should All Be Millionaires, I also got from the library. If I'm not really a self-help girl, I don't really do self-help. I used to in my early 20s when everyone is trying to find their damn selves. I think I found me. I think by now I have found me, but I do have a planner, a Black-owned planner business booked, and I bought that planner from that company, and they have a list of books on the inside of self-help for finances and a whole bunch of other things. So this was one of the books in there on that list, and I actually enjoyed it. It was pretty funny. There wasn't anything like groundbreaking in this book, but it's not like a lot of other self-help books that I read way back when that tell you, hey, you want to learn something, even though you've already either purchased the book or are reading the book. They want you to purchase more from them to make their money and take yours. This one wasn't so much like that. It gave you the steps on the inside to propel you forward to get the results that you wanted, and I enjoyed it. Mutual Obsession, I read on KU. This one was also funny. This one I do recommend. This is friends to finally getting to be lovers, but also you have to watch who you keep around you, because all skin folk ain't kinfolk. That's this book. Then Entice My Nasty, I also read on KU, and I don't recommend. I didn't like it. Siobhan Latrice's book. I read this and I did not enjoy it. First, the FMC gets pregnant when she's like 15, 16 years old by an older man, and then he leaves her. Her baby passes away. And then she meets another man that is wholeheartedly abusive, and then it ends on a cliffhanger so that you can read part two. And I said, what is attractive about this? But anyway, no. I forgot to add this one in there. Ruthless Vows by Rebecca Ross. This is another book from my physical TBR that I read. I forgot to put it down here. But yes, I read this one. I did not like this one as much as I liked the first one, Divine Rivals. This one, okay, first, the reason why I didn't like it, it was in third person. And that doesn't bother me unless it's a romance for some reason. Then I start to feel taken out of the story because 3/4 of this book, the two main characters are not together. So it doesn't bother me at all. But then when you realize this is supposed to be a fantasy romance and they're only together for a fourth of the book, it starts to bother you. Plus they get together in that fourth of the book and it's like, where was the romance? Ugh. This was to me, a disappointing ending to a duology. And finally, Point of Exhale. I enjoyed this book. I read it on Kindle. I enjoy seeing different perspectives when it comes to writing. Hard-hitting topics like domestic abuse, age gaps, all types of things. And this one had a really good ending. I love when books have different names for characters. Our main character in this book is called Safari. I love that name for him. And even though he was cocky and sometimes just agitated me, I still enjoyed it and I gave it a 4 star. So yeah, those are all the books that I read in the month of February. Thank you for waiting around for that February wrap up. Like I said, life was lifing. Let me know if you've read any of these, if you plan on reading any of these, if you've heard of any of these authors, especially the indie ones that I have mentioned in this video. Make sure you go to your local library. They always need the help. And I will definitely see you all in the next one. Happy reading. Bye.